What's going on, everyone? This is Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. In this show, we're doing 2020 US Women's Open DFS picks and sleepers. Craig, we love the game of golf. We cover the LPGA. We highlight the LPGA every week on our weekly podcast. But this is the first time we get to do a DFS picks and sleeper show for the women's game. I don't know. I love it. What are you excited about it?
Yeah, I am. I mean, just in doing research on this in the last 24 hours, I feel like I've jumped into the the women's the field. And the thing I love about DFS as opposed to some of the other sports book and those type of things is that you're forced, because of how you build your roster, you're forced to take 6 players, and you can't just take 6 top players. So you really have to look in later into the fields, and then once the tournament starts and the event's going, you care about these people. You care about people making the cut or not. Yeah. So I'm not playing
absolutely
DFS tournaments to try to earn a living, but what I'm doing is just to make being a fan more fun, and that's why I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to be following this tournament this week.
Yeah, and I think it's going to get great coverage. No PGA fan. I think it's just going to highlight everything a little bit more, having it on the DFS market on DraftKings. I just hope it continues to grow the game because it's a great game.
Yeah, well, and the reality is, I think with sports betting and daily fantasy play over the last few years, I think these leagues and these like the LPGA or the PGA, they're all realizing that this is not something to stay away from. This is something to lean into. It's not like it's just degenerates. It's just people who, it makes you care more about it. You care about the results in a way.
Throw a couple of bucks on.
I'll throw in a handful of quarters and see if I can build the bankroll.
Exactly. All right, so we're at the Champions Golf Club in Houston, Texas. It is a 36-hole complex. They are using 2 courses for Thursday and Friday. There's daylight concerns, so they have to kind of spread it out with a 156-player field. So they're going to use a Jackrabbit course, half the field Thursday, Friday, and then the Cypress Creek course is going to be the main course, par 71, 6,700 yards. And of course, that'll be used for the weekend. 156 players, it'll cut down to low 60 and ties for the weekend. So, I mean, DFS, you have to get 6 of 6 through the weekend to really get that GPP. What do you think there? That's a pretty low number to get through.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And the reality is you got to find cut makers down low, I think, to be able to balance out we've spoken about this a bit, but I think really it looks like it will be someone maybe from the top 10 or 20. The overwhelming likelihood is that one of those people will win. So what you need to do is try to find whoever you think is going to win, and then get a bunch of people you think are going to make the cut and get high up into, even once they've made the cut, get into the top 30 or something.
So I agree. I think my approach is it's not the balanced lineup for me. I think someone up top is going to win it. So it's going to be stars and scrubs. So when I look down below under 7,500, how do we get creative there, find cut makers, or possibly a little bit higher upside there?
And the other thing I think to pay attention to, I don't quite know, between the 2 courses, I don't quite know whether the scoring will be lower on one than the other.
Right.
Don't overreact the first day, because half the field will have played one and half the other. And I mean, at that point, there's nothing you're going to do, but don't feel like all hope is lost if you have people who look like they're lower down, but they were playing the harder course that day.
Yeah, completely agree. So second ever U.S. Women's Open in Texas. The 91 tournament was at Colonial. Craig, weather for this week, the temperature's pretty low. There is some wind with Houston. I mean, that bottom row there is the gusts in miles per hour. So we can get up to 19, 20 mile per hour gusts. So
now we typically don't speak in miles per hour up here in Canada, but basically what we've decided to do is for, PGA, LPGA stuff, we speak in Fahrenheit and miles per hour. And then when we look at Euro tournaments, we try to do things in our language in Celsius and kilometers an hour. But those are pretty good gusts. Though that affects play for sure. And you hear most golfers talk about the fact that when you get crazy wind, then it affects it, but it's really more if you have a steady wind, they can work around that. But when it's gusting, that's when it becomes problematic.
we're just wacky Canadians stuck in the middle of US and Europe. Like we like the Celsius, but I mean meters on a golf course kind of throw me a little bit.
And it's the same thing, we don't talk about how tall we are in centimeters or in meters. We kind of a weird hybrid people up here. But yeah, it looks like we potentially or likely will get water on the course on Friday. So that'll soften it up a bit, which, it'll make it play longer, but also greens will be more receptive. So keep that in mind. I don't think, to me, there's nothing in the weather that's going to make me look for specific types of players, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's jump into it. So for this DFS show, we're each going to give one of our picks, our favorite DFS plays, and then one sleeper. So I'll kick off. My pick to win, Inbee Park on DraftKings, 10,400. I really think, I think she's priced third on DraftKings. On Sportsbook, she's about second odds to win. I think she just has I think she's really the best chance to win here. She's coming off back-to-back second place finishes in her last two tournaments. We don't have a ton of stats for LPGA players this year historically, but she is second in putting average and fourth in driving accuracy. And because we don't have those stats, I think USGA is kind of unique. I mean, they host their number of championships over the year, the amateurs, the US Opens, and I think they play tougher, and they set them up in their particular way. And I think when you're looking at a USGA events, it's good to look at other USGA events they've played in the past and how they've done there. Inbee Park is a two-time winner at the US Women's Open. She won in 08 and 13. She has 13 appearances, 8 top 10s. So
that's all right. That's all right.
More than half the time. She has 2 missed cuts, one in 17, and then one in 04, where in 04 she was 15 years old. So I'm also going to give her a pass on that.
I'm not quite ready to give her a pass.
So she has a stellar record at US Women's Open. She has great form coming in back-to-back second place finishes. I think she's the class of the field. I'm picking Inbee Park.
Yeah, I like it. The other thing, just a little bit of a side note, and I'm not going to remember the name, but she also is the youngest ever. Her 08 win, she's the youngest ever winner of the US Women's Open.
She is, yes.
And she was 19 years, however many months, however many days. There's a young golfer from California. I can't remember her first name, but her last name's N-O-H. And she's been playing very good golf, and she potentially she would be the youngest if she were to go out there and win it this year. So maybe it's just that one more motivation. It comes down to both of them being up at the top of the leaderboard. She's got to hold on to her youngest ever record. So were you able to find that name in the few moments here or no?
I was, but I'm not gonna try to let me know.
Yeah, I read it earlier, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, so that's better than I got. Okay, I'll jump into my first one here. I'm going way down the list to the world number one. Jin Young Ko, she comes in at $10,000 on DraftKings. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of stake that, how much ownership percentage she gets there, because she's the world number one, but she's down to about, I want to say, 4th or 5th favorite and 4th or 5th most expensive here. And in large part, it's because she chose not to come back to the States and play until November. So she was playing over on the Korean LPGA. But you look at her resume and it speaks for itself. She's the world number one. Yeah. She was the 2018 LPGA Rookie of the Year. Then 2019, she really just became dominant. She won 5 wins, 4 on the LPGA, 1 over in Korea, including there's 2 majors. She won LPGA Player of the Year. She won, I'd have to remember, I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say like Golf Magazine or Golf TV Player of the Year. Which is not just the females. So she won that over, Rory and DJ and all these other guys who had good seasons. So her 2019 season was phenomenal. She has 2. So looking then what she looked like of recent, she's got 2 starts in November. I want to say maybe November and December, but 2 starts since she's come back over to the States here. First one, she was tied for 34th, and then she was 5th in her last one. But then you look, she was playing over on the KLPGA. She had 6 starts there, 4 top tens. Her normal caddy came over for her last 3 tournaments over there. I believe she was second, third, and 8th in those tournaments. So, maybe a little bit more comfortable having him back around and whatever. But so her form, it's tough to extrapolate too much from a small sample size, but the Korean LPGA is awesome. Like, it is super competitive. There's a reason that a lot of the top players in the world are coming out of there. So I like her recent form, even though we haven't seen a ton of it. Then statistically, we have to look back to 2019 for her, where does she compare in the field? She was first in scoring. This is just scoring average. It's not like a strokes gained. But she was over a third of a stroke better than the person who was second place. So when you're looking at, 50, however many rounds it is, a third of a stroke is significant. She was first in GIR, 79.6%. Her driving accuracy was above 80%. It's just absurd numbers for someone who's used to seeing the PGA driving accuracy. And then
I know, I noticed that as well.
And then last thing, birdies. So she makes a ton of birdies. She was second in birdie average, just 4.3 around. So, tons of things to like. It's just a matter from a DFS perspective. What's her ownership going to be like, and is she going to come back? This will be her first major in a while. Is she going to come back and show the form she had in 2019, where she was just dominant?
Yeah, so I think that brings up a lot of questions. Ownership pivots, I think, is one of our favorite things in GPPs. This being the first, women's DFS event we've done, we don't know exactly where the popular plays are going to be and where ownership is going to go. I think mentioning Brooke Henderson, Canada's favorite. Where am I pointing?
Yeah,
there?
You got it.
There's my Canada hat.
And we get a lot of flack here for always picking the Canadians, so neither of us picked Brooke.
I know. We get the Homer Canadian. I know, we get those. But I think these are both 2 good pivots, and I think Brooke Henderson will be very, very popular, possibly one of the highest owned people on the slate. But just with Ko, with the question marks in the year, I think that will kind of bring down some ownership, and I think that's a great opportunity.
And that's the thing is, I think there's more question marks, like her potentially. You're never going to get her as cheap as you will at this one.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into a little bit deeper down the slate and look at some people below 7,500.
So below 7,500 on DraftKings, my pick for the sleeper this week is Stacey Lewis at 7,400. So she's kind of a veteran on here. She's had 13 U.S. Open appearances, 10 made cuts, 4 top tens. This year, looking at her current form, 12 events since the restart she's got a win. The Scottish Open, 7 top 35 or better, and 2 missed cuts. The 2 missed cuts, 1 was on the number, and 1 was by 1 stroke. So she's playing really good, and she's getting into the weekend the majority of the time. And when she's not, it's really, really close. I mean, a lip out here or just kind of a missed chip there kind of thing. But the thing I really like, Craig, I'm kind of a sucker for this, but I was looking at the field. I think there's 8 Texans or 8 native Texans in the field. I was doing some research on all of them. Stacey Lewis is from the Woodlands, a suburb, I think, north of Houston. Did a little bit more research. She grew up in Houston. She's a member here, Craig, a member at the Champions Golf Club. I was also looking at an interview. I think her caddy's like, I'm going to let her pick the lines off the tee. She knows where she's going. So 7,400, having that course history, solid form, tons of U.S. Women's Open experience. I think she might be very, very popular, but I think she's one of the safer plays at under 75.
Well, and that's one of the things that because we don't have a ton of DFS experience on the LPGA side. We don't know what other people are, there's going to be hundreds and thousands of people entering these things. We don't know how popular she's going to be, but I like the play a lot. I think that it's a huge advantage, playing 2 courses too. It means that everyone has less time to prepare for a single course. So, maybe some people are neglecting the courses. They'll only play the one day before the cut. So, but she doesn't need to do the same kind of prep that other people are having to do because she just knows so much about it. I like to play a lot. I think ownership is the big question mark, and there's no way we'll know that until the tournament starts.
I'm not picking. I usually like to have a sleeper that's a sneaky play. This is not my sneaky play. It just kind of seems like the right
Yeah.
play.
Yep. Okay, mine here, I've got Hannah Green. She comes in at 7,300 on DraftKings. She's a 23-year-old Aussie. She's currently ranked 23rd in the world. If you don't know much about her, she was the champion. She won the Women's PGA Championship last year. So she has the ability to go out there and win in these kind of fields.
Yeah.
She's got a really strong record in majors. So she's made 7 straight cuts. And it's a little bit weird to me because as we've been doing LPGA research, I think of a 23-year-old golfer as being like so young. But then when you look at the age for some of these female golfers, they're competitive so young that maybe
So
23 she's like
early.
mid-career.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But it seems to me like she's doing a pretty good job of putting up a record young at a young age. So she's made 7 straight cuts in majors, and her average finish in those is 27.9. So she's doing a good job of getting higher up in the field when she is making cuts, and has shown the ability to go out there and win. In her last 6 starts, she's got into the top 25 4 times, so she's coming in good form. It just seems to me like this is the type of person I want to target and pair with the people up high that I think, just so Hannah Green would have win upside. Obviously, she's won a major, but I think it's more that she has a very safe. I think she's going to get through to the weekend. So you pair her with some of these people we like up at the top, and I just think it's one of the ones that there's good value. She's I want to say she's 41st most expensive. So when you look at the fact she's averaging high 20s,
that's exactly what I was going to ask.
So there's just value there. If she's going to be the 41st most expensive and she's going to finish in the high 20s, I'll take that right there.
It just kind of seems like a misprice. Ranked 23rd in the world, but having a DraftKings price, a salary is 7,300. Like you said, that's in the 40s. That just seems like a misprice.
Yeah, I think it's tough though because her world ranking would be so heavily skewed by that one win, where there's other people that they might really like for a bunch of other reasons, but they haven't. How a win in a major can just bump your world ranking up for as long as that's on the card. I think it's the problem for me is that I feel like I have a good handle of the very top of this field, but then once you get down into this range, I don't. And so finding these people that I think just are they seem like they're good value, that's really what I want to try to do this week.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you everybody for watching. This was really fun to do, really fun to research. I hope we get to do a lot more of these in the future. So please watch it, like it, subscribe to our channel. We want to do as much as we can to help with the women's game because we love to watch it. Follow us on our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Twitter is where we pump out everything. For instance, last week, European Tour, we had a few withdrawals late in the evening before
the golf in Dubai.
Tee off. So we're going to follow all those kind of notifications and we'll push them out, any DFS related content that applies. So make sure to follow us on Twitter and get all the latest up-to-date information.
Yeah, and just on that, it looks like the same thing's happening again where there is limited information coming out for the DP on the European Tour DP World Tour Championship. So we'll try to get that out as soon as we're aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone. Good luck.
Good luck, guys. We'll see you next time.